a video on something I'm faffing around with. So if I'm faffing around with something, I might as well make a video on it, because the last time I didn't make a video on something I was faffing around with, it turned out really good, and then I didn't have a record of how I actually did it. So this is like risotto-ish. I'm using the really cheap white rice that you get from the supermarket. Can you still call it risotto? I don't know. Anyone who's heavily into risottos would probably think not, but we all can't afford risotto rice. But we can make something similar with cheap rice, which I always kind of think is kind of quite interesting. So the only problem with the cheap white rice, this stuff, this is from Asda, is that it doesn't cook particularly evenly, and I think it's because it's there's no age to the rice. So when you go to supermarkets, like particularly the Asian supermarkets, they sell something like aged rice, which means that it's older, and it cooks really nicely and goes really fluffy. So I think the problem with this rice is it's probably not the best kind of quality, and that it'll have no age to it. That's my theory. So what I did do, and it kind of worked, it worked, was I soaked the rice before I cooked it, and that worked. It kind of the liquid had a chance to get into the rice before it started cooking, so therefore it cooked more evenly. So I'm going to do that again, but I was kind of thinking I want to kind of nail like a cheap risotto kind of recipe, and so if we're on, it's like a limited budget, limited ingredients type of thing, then it's quite difficult to get flavour into things when you're on a limited budget. So toasting the rice before you turn it into risotto is a way of getting more flavour into the rice, in the same way as like browning meat before you put it into a stew or a casserole or those type of things. It adds flavour. So I've toasted this rice in a pan, hence why I'm moving around. So it just needs a little bit more. You've just got to be careful. I'm doing it on top of the stove. Probably best off doing it in the oven, and then you get like an even kind of toast. But let's just see if we can. But if we get that up to the camera, will that focus on me? No, it's like my eyes. God, my eyes are going. And the camera doesn't want to focus either. Oh, but you can see in the pan. So it's not. Some bits are toasted, and some bits are not so toasted. So I'm going to toast some flavour into it, and then I'm going to add the liquid to it. I would normally be using the cheap stock cubes from the supermarket, limited budget, limited ingredients, like that stuff. They're alright, they're about 60p for 12, and use those as a seasoning. But what I have got instead is I've got this cooking liquid that I cooked I worked on Friday, and it was chicken. So I poached the chicken in some vermouth, seasoned it and poached it in vermouth in the oven, and it was delicious. And then used that cooking liquid to make the sauce, which is a really good way of doing it. I'll do it sometime. I'll do like a proper recipe for it, and then make a white wine sauce. And it's really tasty. It keeps chicken nice and moist, and it makes a really nice sauce as well. So I made the sauce, and then I've got some leftover cooking liquid. So it's like vermouth and a bit chickeny and a bit salty. So I'm going to use that to make the sauce. I don't have to freeze it. No, I'm going to use that to cook the rice. Yeah, so it's chickeny, it's winey. It had the fat on the top from the chicken, so that'll do really well. This is not going to be a short video at all, is it? So, and then because I'm toasting the rice in the pan, I'm just sauteing off some onion in a separate pan, in a bit of chicken fat, to carry on the process of chicken. What I really should have done is I should have put that rice in another container and then sauteed that in a pan. So I've kind of made myself some washing up, haven't I? But I'm doing two things at once, so hence why I'm using 2 pans. But what if I was like a 1 pan type of thing? What I'd do is I'd toast the rice in the pan first, pour the rice into a bowl, then pour the liquid over the rice in that bowl, and then I'd have then I'd use the pan to cook the onion, and then add the rice and liquid back to that. But anyway, I'm just doing 2 things at once, because as always I'm on my way swimming, and I want this to be half ready by the time I come home. So I don't want to risk toasting that any more than it is. But if we look at it compared to, can we do a comparison? You can see the difference there, can't you? Even though that's through plastic, you can see how much more that's toasted than the rice, which is then spilt on the floor. But anyway, so we'll turn the toasted rice off at the back. That's a hot pan. We'll let that cool down. So we'll carry on toasting a little bit. We'll carry on cooking this onion, and then we'll add that liquid over the rice when it's cooled down a little bit, because it'll start to cook if I pour it rice over now. But we'll just let it cool down for a little bit before we pour liquid over. Sorted the onion off, and then we'll put it all together when I come home. Yeah, and I'll see about putting some cheese in. Cheese really isn't in the limited ingredient, limited budget kind of challenge. So it's too expensive. So I have just been cooking it with milk and using the fat from like some chicken fat, or the richness of the stock cubes as a way of making it a little bit creamier. But we won't be able to. So we'll see. I might add some cheese to it. I might make myself like more of a proper risotto. But what I really want what the purpose of this video is, because we've gone all around the houses to explain what I'm actually doing, is I want to see if toasting the rice and then adding liquid to it, we don't lose anything. If it's kind of like pointless toasting the rice if we're going to soak it in some liquid before we actually cook it. That's the purpose of this video. Why did it take me so long to get to that? And what we're at? Like 7 minutes, and it took me that long to get to that. I really need to concentrate. Maybe have some bullet points on a bit of paper instead of just winging it as always. But anyway, so everything's fine. Before I go swimming, we'll soak, and as that's cooled down, we'll pour the liquid over. Just pour it in now. It will start to cook. I don't want it to cook. I just want it to soak into the rice so it cooks a little bit more evenly. So we're back after I've been swimming, and we'll faff around and we'll see if it works, and we don't lose the toastiness of the rice, because if we lose the toastiness of the rice, it'll be a little bit pointless kind of exercise to toast the rice and then soak the rice, won't it? Yes. Right, it looked like we've lost a bit of toastiness, just a little bit. But I was thinking about that, and I was kind of thinking, well, the toasted flavour is only going to go into the stock. So, and if we toast it when it's before it's cooking, and then we use proper risotto rice, the cooking process is potentially going to get rid of the toasty flavour on the outside of the rice anyway, isn't it? You know, because it's going to be cooking and soaking in stock as it cooks, so potentially it's going to lose it from the rice, but we're going to get that toasty. Why am I'm sorry. I have to get all things out of containers. So it's just going to, the toasty flavour is just going to go into the going into the stock anyway, and so you're not going to lose it. It's just going to go into the stock and going to keep the stock a toasty kind of flavour. And then I was thinking, so we'll let this cook down. You're supposed to add a little bit of stock as you go to a risotto, because it brings out the creaminess of the rice, basically the gluten and the starch, and that's what you get the creaminess out of. And the moving around kind of helps that happen. And you can also control how much stock you're actually using. So when the rice is almost cooked and just needs a little bit more stock, you can put in a little bit more stock. And there's no guarantees I suppose that rice is it's not uniform, is it really? So it's never going to completely absorb. 100 grams of rice is never going to completely absorb the same amount of stock for the next 100 grams of rice and the next 100 grams of rice, because it's going to all have a slightly different moisture content and a slightly different age to it and a slightly different size. So, but anyway, that's that. So I'm going to move it around. We're going to evaporate off a lot of this stock, bring it up to the boil, simmer it slowly, evaporate off most of the stock, then we're going to add some milk. And then I was thinking, while I was swimming, that I'm not going to use cheese in it, and I'm going to put a bit of fat in, but we could use a couple of egg yolks, couldn't we? Which would make it nice and rich and silky in flavour, because that's what egg yolks do. You do it with a pasta carbonara, and you do it with other pasta dishes, and you in really old-fashioned French cookery, you do something called a liaison, which is egg yolks and cream, and you add it to the end of a sauce, and it enriches the sauce. So, so if we could do it with pasta, we can do it with rice. And I never. Someone must be doing it. Someone must be putting an egg yolk in like risottos, either plonking it on top, which would be nice, or even just adding it at the end. When it's stopped, turn the heat off, add the egg yolk. Should be enough heat in the rice just to cook the egg and make it lovely and luxurious. They must be doing that. I've never seen it in restaurants that I worked in, or heard my friends talk about it when I've talked with chef friends. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put a couple of egg yolks in, but we'll bring this up to boil, stir it around. I'm going to be in the kitchen. I've got some other jobs to do, a bit of washing up as always, and a bit of drying up. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to throw in some peas at the end as well, just for a bit of colour, and because they're part of the limited budget, limited food like challenge that I'm thinking about, and eggs are in that as well. So we've got onion in that that limited. I really should post a video, but the prices are wrong. I might have to do the video again. So, but in the challenge there is onions, there is carrots, there's frozen cheap peas, there's eggs, there's rice, there's stock cubes, there's milk. So all those things are going to be used in this, apart from the carrot. Although I did do a savoury rice dish with carrot, very similar to this, and it was very nice. But anyway, here we go. So you know what I'm doing, and we'll come back at the end when the risotto-ish savoury rice is almost ready, and we can add the eggs. I won't waste. I'm just going to put the yolks in. I'm not going to put in the whites. We'll use those on something else. Probably have those for my breakfast tomorrow morning. With some, it's made into scrambled eggs with some whole eggs. But you don't need to know that, do you? So, something, well, it's not really interesting has happened. It's completely broken up, and it's turned into like sago type of thing. What's the other one? Sago or tapioca. It's just broken up all to bits. Has the rice. I think it must have been down to the toasting, that it's formed like fractures in the rice, and then when it's been heated up, it caused it to fall to kind of bits. So toasting it and then turn it into a savoury rice thing doesn't work. But it does turn it into a porridge, doesn't it? It does turn it into a porridge. So that's kind of quite interesting for the limited food budget thingamajig, because that means instead of buying oats, which were part of the things that I bought for about £10, something like that, you don't need to buy the oats. You can buy more rice, and have that for breakfast instead of overnight oats. So that bag of rice is half the price of what we call it, of the oats. So there we go. disappointing. Disappointing because I was looking forward to that for my tea, and I've wasted that lovely bit of vermouthy stock. But I'm still going to eat it because I'm hungry and I can't be bothered cooking anything else, and it's a bit late. I might have to consult myself with a whiskey later on. But anyway, so a failure, but we've learned something from it. That's a good thing, isn't it? Oh yeah, I'm not going to bother putting the egg yolks in because that would be a complete waste. We'll do it again without toasting the rice. We'll make like a risotto type thing, and what we call it, do the same method but without toasting the rice, and then we'll stir in some egg yolks at the end, and we'll see how that turns out. But how does it actually taste? I tasted a bit of it. I suppose I should taste it properly. Alright, it's edible for a starving person like me.